a very tough defender. I've heard guys are dropping out of workouts if they heard that Jaden Springer is there. I mean,
Oh, wow. Let's go down a little further. Obviously, like later first round, second round, pretty much a total crapshoot at that point. But who are some guys that stand out to you in that range that you think are going to, wind up being steals, outplaying their draft slot?
I've come around on Cam Thomas from LSU, who it's hard to love his game because he takes so many bad shots, but he's so good at making them. I mean, the list of freshmen over the last 15 years to average 23 a game, it's 7 of them, and 3 of them are, Durant and Trae Young and Beasley. It's just the production and the shot-making skill is just tough to argue against. And, I talked to a scout the other day who's like, if he goes to a shitty team, then he's probably going to develop bad habits. But if he goes to a good team where his shot selection would just naturally have to be tighter, and he'd have guys around him and less freedom to do some of the wacky things he does, then I think he's got a chance to be a steal. Another guy I really like Jared Butler. The heart problems are concerning, and I'm no doctor. But if this turns out to be a non-issue and he slips in the draft, I mean, some team is getting a steal in Jared Butler, who is just such an easy fit on and off the ball. We saw him help Baylor win a national title. He's just so good at so many different things that I think he's an easy fit and kind of like a quickly type. Another guy, Miles McBride from West Virginia. He's one of my favorite sleepers in the draft. I don't know if you can call him a sleeper anymore. He's gaining a lot of steam as a potential first rounder, but 6'2", he measured a 6'9" wingspan, really pesky defender, which is what he's always been known for, is his pace and pressure defense. But this year, he really improved his shooting up to 42%. He can get his pull-up anytime he wants, and I think it's just a matter of time before he starts converting it more often. And so, no, maybe he's not a star point guard, but for somebody you take in the 20s, I think he's got the chance to be a very solid role player for a long time. So those guys. And then Sharif Cooper is a guy who I'm also very high on and pretty much give a lottery grade to. Another guy who I think is very team dependent. And I don't know if he's going to go in the lottery, if he's going to go, to the Knicks at 21 or 19 or whatever. But if he goes to the right team where he could just play to his strengths as a playmaker, not have to worry about scoring the way he did at Auburn, which is why he was only 39% from the field. Just put him in a role where his job is to push the pace, create shots for teammates. I think he's the type of guy who could lead the league in assists, at some point. Yeah. I think he's that good off the dribble, seeing things and delivering passes with both hands.
I'm so glad you brought up Sharif because I was going to ask about him. I think people are really sleeping on this kid. People are looking at the shooting percentages, as you touched on, and they're basically saying, oh, can we really have a guy that's that inefficient? I don't think that was his role. I mean, when you have the court vision that he does and you're forced to drive the ball virtually every single time down, I don't think you maximize your skill set. So I'm super glad you brought some context into that. I'm also really curious about your opinion on Jaden Springer. He seems to be, in favorite on NBA Draft Twitter. What do you see out of him that is just so attractive?
I don't see crazy upside, but I do see just a very good role-playing, versatile guard. So he kind of reminds me of D'Anthony Melton. That's the type of player I see. Where is he a lead guard? No. Is he a scoring 2 guard? No. But he does a lot of the good things, and I think he's very interchangeable and a very tough defender. I've heard guys are dropping out of workouts if they heard that Jaden Springer is there. I mean,
oh wow.
He's tough. He's one of the youngest players in the draft. I think there are a lot of questions about his ability to create his own shot and does he have the burst to blow by guys. But it also reminds me of the Tyrese Halliburton situation last year, where we kind of put too much stock into the negatives and didn't really appreciate what he does well. Right. And if you put him as a secondary ball handler, where he doesn't have to make all your lead decisions, but where he could play off another guard, be a complementary piece, I think he's got the chance to be a very good role player.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch much of Tennessee this year, so I am genuinely curious. That buzz is very intense, so I wanted to see if that was something that holds true. And just the fact that you bring up D'Anthony Melton, I mean, that's NBA Draft Twitter's favorite still to this day. So that makes a lot of sense. Finally, of course, I mean, because he is from Europe, as is Usman Garuba from Real Madrid. I mean, the defense to me is just mind-blowingly awesome already. I mean, at what, 18, 19 years old, the defensive upside is virtually unlimited. The offense, however, is far more raw and unsettling. So what kind of role can we expect for him to have moving forward? Is he just basically destined to be a defensive-oriented guy? Yeah,
I think... like I talked to a scout the other day, and I was like, "What do you think of Garuba?" He goes, nothing special. It's just because, like, everybody likes his defense.
Yeah.
But how much, how do you value in this draft a 6'8" forward who really gives you nothing offensively? And maybe he is going to be a fantastic defender, but, like, he's got to be like all NBA defender if you're going to take him in the lottery. Because it's just tough to see any path to offensive value. And so, to me, I wouldn't take him in the lottery. But if I'm a playoff team who needs to improve defensively, he's on my board. I mean, he's a target for me in that 15 to 30 range. But for the right team, he's a tough guy to value in this draft, and I think everyone is going to value him differently based on their particular roster.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I could definitely see someone wanting to improve their bench defense, for example, where he would be a prime candidate.
Yeah, and he could play. Yeah, he play next year. There's no doubt about it. Kind of like Xavier Tillman. Just that's his role. Play defense. Make enough passing reads, which I think he's a pretty good passer, and finish the plays that come to you in the offense, and that's your job. And anything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
And sometimes you watch him shoot a three, and it looks like he could eventually add that, but it's not something you count on right now. Right now, you're just counting on his effort, his defensive IQ to make those rotations, and to switch and cause problems around the perimeter, and that's his focus. And anything else is total bonus.
So I have two more guys that I want to hit on, and then one final question for you. So I've seen, assuming the Sixers keep their pick at 28, which is no sure thing at the moment, I've seen Trey Mann and Trey Murphy come up a lot in those discussions. You, in your latest mock, have those guys well off the board by that point. So sorry in advance to Sixers fans who are hoping for either one. But what do you like about those two guys?
I mean, man, I had a chance to watch Mann in the private workout in Chicago, and the ball comes off his fingertips so easily, and he was just hitting logo three after logo three, and 6'5" with this effortless shooting range and off the dribble shooting range, which is so valuable in today's league. Like, that's what I really value with him. He's very creative off the dribble. He can stop and pop from anywhere. He's got one of the best floaters in the draft, and that's what I really like about him. The big question with Mann is, can he be a guy who runs your offense? Can he be a lead guard who makes decisions for your half-court offense? I'm not so sure. Like one scout said to me, like, is he better than Anthony Simons? And I'm like, I don't know. But I guess is that the type of player that he's going to be? I think Mann offers a little more playmaking ability. He was one of the best pick-and-roll players in the country this year, per synergy. And I think he's got some extra playmaking, but his value in the NBA is going to be his streak scoring ability, and the ability to get his own shot, connect from anywhere off the dribble. But I like him more, right, as a guy in the 20s, and not somebody you think of as being the guy who runs your offense. Although I think if you are thinking that, you're thinking more that he's going to be like a Darius Garland type would be the comparison I'd use. And then Trey Murphy, from what I'm hearing, scouts are thinking he's going top 20. He's one of those guys who's just, the momentum just keeps going. He's gaining a lot of steam. Really great kid who's only helping himself during these interviews. I think he's going to get overdrafted a little bit, but I also think he's a guy who's going to last 15 years in the league and play a key role, as a supporting guy on playoff teams. He's 6'9", he's 43% from downtown, he's 92% from the free throw line. Like, there are just no questions that his shot's going to translate. And at that size, he's very mobile defensively. Not like a shot blocker or a big defensive stats guy, but he moves his feet very well. He's going to guard wings. In fact, I think he could play him at small forward. Is going to be his position. And just an easy fit and a great teammate. But he really gives you nothing off the dribble unless it's a straight line drive past the closeout. So I think for the right team, a playoff team that needs his specific type of player, then he's an easy fit. But I think he's going to go before guys who offer a little more upside.
Interesting. Okay. And then last question I had for you. You were in Chicago for the combine. Who are some of the names that were really, helped themselves last week? Like I saw Bones Highland in particular was really buzzing coming out of the combine, but who drew scouts' attention, or which guys were lower on boards and now scouts are going back and thinking like, oh, we might need to give this guy a second look.
Yeah, I mean, quickly on Highland, like Bones is known for his streak scoring. And I remember I was sitting with Ricky O'Donnell from SB Nation, and I was saying, like, if Bones comes out and just like catches fire and takes over the game, which is like he's the type of guy that can do this, he's going to move. And literally 15 minutes later, he had 15 points in like 10 minutes. He did exactly that and then shut it down.
Yeah.
People see another quickly type, a Lou Williams type. Sounds like he's going first round. Everyone thinks he's going to be a first rounder. Josh Primo from Alabama is some guy who averaged 8 points a game this year. Was like basically just a spot-up shooter all season, but he's the youngest player in the draft. He measured around 6'6", and in the scrimmages we got to see some creation and off-the-dribble play that Alabama didn't give him the freedom to do. And when you combine his foundation as a 6'6", 39% shooter, the youngest player in the draft, and the room he has to improve off the dribble, somebody's going to take a chance, probably in the late 20 range, as just a project type guy. Guys who improved their stock, Josh Christopher from Arizona State. I would have guessed he would have not suited up for scrimmages. He's one of those 5-star recruits. You think in terms of ego, like he deserved to be in that group of guys who sat out because they're too good for this stuff. But he played, which impressed a lot of scouts, just by suiting up. And then not only did he suit up, but he played well. And he really showcased his explosiveness in the open floor, and he didn't make shots, but he was still productive, and he still played hard, and he was loud and energetic, and just he was very likable to watch out there. And if his shot ever improves, and which it has the chance to do, he's another 3-level scorer, mid-range guy who last 7 games of the season shot over 40% from 3. Like, he is a Jordan Clarkson type of guy. You're probably just not going to get results for a couple of years with him, but he certainly put himself in the first round picture. And Quentin Grimes is the last guy I'll touch on. Grimes was a McDonald's All-American a couple of years ago, went to Kansas, didn't really have any core skill. Like his calling card was versatility, but you didn't really know what his bankable skill was. Transferred to Houston, became a knockdown shooter, played in these scrimmages, and not only was he ridiculous shooting, but he totally controlled the game, made good decisions, just tore apart the opposing defenses in both scrimmages. His game, he just screamed pro. And I think some team in the late 20s or early 30s who's a playoff team is going to be like, get this guy on my roster, he can help me next year.
Nice. Well, that is all the questions I have for you. Mort, any final thing before we let Was go?
Just 2 guys I have to ask about. First and foremost, Filip Petrusev, who played for Gonzaga previously, went to Serbia, played this year. Obviously, the numbers are pretty great. I mean, the 21 plus points, shot 46% from downtown, 56% overall. Like, he just seems, you just used the term, like, just scream pro. That's the same feeling I get when I watch this guy. Why is he slotted that low? What are the main issues? What are we all missing with him?
Yeah, I could be wrong. I mean, I could have him too low, and I've thought about it a lot. I just haven't heard much. And some of the guys' numbers in that league can be inflated sometimes.
Right.
But yeah, he looks like a different guy than what we saw at Gonzaga, and obviously adding the jump shot has put him on the draft radar. Right. I mean, he was good at Gonzaga. but now he has a shot, and now we're talking about a draft pick. Like if somebody took him in the late 20s, like I wouldn't be totally shocked. I just haven't heard a ton of buzz and about how believable everything he did in Serbia really was. But yeah, he's a guy who's probably being slept on, including by me.
Interesting. And then the last one, this is courtesy of our former co-host, Sarah Chilea, because she is hitting me up on the DMs all the time, asking me about Jeremiah Robinson Earl. And I figured you'd be the perfect guy to just give us a proper JRE breakdown.
All right, actually, I'll just repeat what a scout said to me. And he said, he goes, if I'm looking for just a pro who's going to last the next 10 years, and I'm okay with that, then I'll take Robinson Earl in the late first round. It's tough to envision any upside with him, but it's very easy to just see a pro whose job is to pick and pop, offensive rebounds, make good decisions, and capitalize on post position. Like, I'm higher on him the most. In fact, when he came out of high school, he was top 10 on my board. I've always liked him. Obviously, that was too high, and I give him a late first round grade, even though I slot him at 41 in my latest mock draft, just because people don't really see any upside with him. But I think his game is very defined and structured, and he has an easy role in the NBA. And I think he's smart enough to know his limitations and play that role. And so I think some team is going to get away with a long-term role player, and they're probably going to get him in the second round.
Interesting. So he's a guy you might like. He's going to be a spot time starter, a full time bench guy. Like, what is your projection here?
Yeah, it depends on where he goes, and maybe 5 years from now, he goes to a second team, and he has more opportunity. But I buy his shot. I know he didn't shoot great from downtown this year, but he was 50% in the mid range, and just looking at him shoot the ball, like there's no reason to think that he can't take that mid range shot and step back a couple feet and eventually become a spot up pick and pop guy. And he's got a good body, and I thought he improved his quickness and explosiveness this year, like attacking closeouts. Like he just looked a little more spry, which was, he's not an explosive guy, so that was good to see. And so, yeah, to me, I just think he's just a very refined, fundamentally sound player who's going to find a way to stick.
Your description makes me think that he could be a lesser version of a Paul Millsap.
Yeah, a lesser version. Let me think of a guy or maybe like one of the Morris twins, like that type of guy. I don't know how he's going to be defensively. I'm still kind of torn on where I see him, if he's going to be a liability, if he's going to be, good enough to play 20 plus minutes. But that type of value to a team where he's just a good, maybe eighth guy.
Interesting. So a Morai twin, but without the necessary issues that follows, maybe.
Correct. No intangible issues there.